Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. We have reached round number 15 of the 2025 AFL season, 15 and 3/4 if you count opening round. And for the first time this season, that final quarter potentially might mean nothing because neither team's in the 8 as things stand. And all of a sudden, we were getting quite worried about what impact is that going to have on the finals. Well, Liam, as we'll get to later, potentially a lot less than we first thought if things hold from this week. How are you? How did you go throughout round 15? Did you enjoy the footy we saw?
Yeah, I did enjoy the footy we saw. I mean, it started off with a bang, Freo on Thursday night. Everyone's happy about that, especially us too.
Yes.
But no, it's an interesting round of football. I think we're starting to definitely see now where the divide, the chasm we talk about gets bigger and bigger every week, Jesse. But that's okay. We'll talk about that in the reviews later on. But before we get to that, some housekeeping. Jesse, go.
All the general housekeeping. Make sure if you are watching this on YouTube, first of all, hello. Second of all, please drop a subscribe to keep informed with our content throughout the rest of the season. A like on this video as well is always appreciated. For our podcasting audience, thank you very much for tuning in once again. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, and collectively, both of you, unless there's a third audience I don't know about, can follow us on Instagram at samperfect_AFL, where Liam posts the best bits of our episode sometimes.
Sometimes. I've been a bit slack. My apologies the last couple of weeks, but that's okay. You know, life happens.
Nothing like an on-air burial to get you to do it a bit more, is there? Nothing quite like it. But look,
you are my Instagram accountability buddy.
Yes. And I will throw a little carrot out there as well. Make sure if you are not subscribed or following the show, whether that's on YouTube or your preferred podcasting platform, make sure you have it sorted by next week, because next week is our second trimester review of the AFL season, where we go through all 18 clubs, grade them against how we kind of feel they've gone versus expectations, and also what we can expect for the rest of the season, whether that's top 4, top 8, 9th, or nothing. And they really are the 4 categories we're looking at, I would say, at the moment.
I think so. Yeah, it'll be interesting look into the round so far, or the year so far, I should say, because, yeah, as you know, we wanted the trimester discussion to be a little bit more exciting, but I think you're right. There's literally four categories, but we'll touch on that next week. Please subscribe. You can check us out. Jesse, before we get into our little cheeky deep dive this week, and it is a little cheeky one, wouldn't be right to not mention some big news coming out of West Coast this week. Jeremy McGovern being medically retired, unfortunately, from the game, which is a shame for a club legend, for the legend of the game, one of the best defenders we've seen in some time, to be to have his career called time on in such a fashion. A bit of a shame, but obviously medically it was the right thing to do. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that it was. It's devastating for Jeremy, for the West Coast fan base, and also for the rest of the AFL as well. You know, I can't believe he's not made it to 200 games, because you think of West Coast in the last decade, you think of Jeremy McGovern. The Dom Sheed goal that haunts Collingwood fans and keeps West Coast fans going through his last tough 4 years doesn't happen without McGovern's intercept mark in the back 50 in the dying stage of that grand final. He is an anchor and a pillar of the West Coast team. And I think hopefully not a player that we lose to history, because I think a lot of people don't give him the credit that he deserves. And I think a lot of that intercept defender mold that we have now, I think Cal Wilkie's probably in this bracket where, you know, they're having elite seasons, but McGovern really is the prototype for that post 2010, post Clarkson's cluster. He's really helped reinvent that position of what it means to be a second tall in a defensive back six. So McGovern walked and then ran, so guys like Wilkie could run and sprint even. So I think it's been a very successful career that I wish was on the other side of town for obvious reasons, but fantastic career. So all the best to Jeremy. I'm sure he'll land on 2 feet, and I think also the right call. From the AFL, we don't need to take any risks with CTA and with head trauma. I suspect this is not the last high profile player. I know we've had the guys like Liam Picken go through this, but I think McGovern's probably the most notable name in terms of that star verse on that kind of star scale almost, where you're kind of intersecting. So I don't think you'll get a bigger name than Jeremy McGovern, hopefully not in a while. Hopefully some awareness as well comes out of this too.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully he sticks around the club at least, you know, help out the players. maybe a little bit of cheeky coaching. Lord knows he could probably be a good defensive coach, I would say.
You would hope.
I would say so. All right, Jesse. We're into the deep dive section now. Should we get into it?
I think we should. Did you pack my water wings?
Your water wings?
We're
Why?
deep diving.
Ah, good one. I thought you could swim by now, Jesse.
Well, it depends on the day.
The day, the weather, it's how tired you
Current.
are.
Whether I want to be on Bondi Rescue or not.
That's where. Hey, Jesse, you want your water wings? Leave them behind. I wish to be rescued today. Which hunky man is going to come out and get me?
Are you okay, Liam? Because that took a turn.
Honestly, after today, I don't know anymore. All right, but we're not talking about any of that stuff.
I was like, do you want me to start the deep dive yet?
No. Yes, now we shall. We're going to talk about some of the 2024 class of draft.
Sure. Would you like me to do the instruction for this?
No, keep it in. It's fine. But you can do a better one. I'll still keep that one in. But what are we doing today, Jesse?
We're talking about the draft class of 2024, and specifically who the best first-year player might be, because the Rising Star is confusing and also kind of bad. Well, I know people like it and they get really proud when their player wins it, but I don't like that it's not Rookie of the Year or Best First-Year Player of the Year. I feel like that's a more interesting metric, so this is kind of a de facto one that we're doing in round 15. We'll do it again in our awards show later in the season. Ask away, Lim.
So I thought the Rising Star was first-year players.
Under 21.
Under 21? Well, you've taught me something today, Jesse. Thank you very much. Okay.
So some of the players we're going to talk about in the best first-year player context aren't even eligible for the Rising Star. There's two in here that couldn't even win it if they really wanted to.
I must admit there was one name in particular, which we'll talk about in a bit, that I was like, he's how old? That's crazy. Yeah. That's nuts. There's mature age and then there's this. My God. But where would you like to start, Jesse? Where would you like to start with our deep dive into the class of 24?
Well, let's run through some of the top names who have played the most amount of games out of the class of 2024. So the big one is Levi Ashcroft. And just quickly for Andrew Bassett, if you're listening, cover your ears. We're going to talk about a father-son player. It's okay. Ashcroft has seamlessly transitioned into the Brisbane structure. Now, we said in our draft recap at the end of last year when the draft happened that he's going to be hard-pressed to get into this team because it's a damn fine midfield. He's got his older brother who's just coming off a Norm Smith medal when we recorded that episode. Lachie Neale, easily one of the best mids in the competition. Dunkley, easily one of the most underrated mids in the competition. Star power like McCluggage. Rayner can rotate through the midfield as well. That's a pretty strong list of names, and yet
massively
fair's fair to Levi Ashcroft. He's gotten his snout right in the feeding trough and is playing every game this season.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice because a few of the players we'll talk about in a second as well have kind of taken their chances and absolutely run with them. And Levi is definitely top of the pops there. Absolutely,
easily could have been number one pick as well. We know that the bidding system is annoying for some clubs, but that's where it's important to recruit well when you do have your draft picks and not take Billings over Bontempelli. We'll go into the players who have played 14 games now. Sam Davidson picked up as a mature age recruit for the Western Bulldogs, who's picked up a 51 in the draft. So not even getting close to warranting a mention in that kind of first round recap that we did. We did kind of a round and a half, I think, in the end, didn't we? We went down to about pick 25. So still double away from that. So a long way off that. But you look at the way he plays, and I remember watching him at Optus against us, Liam, in about round 4 or round 5. He just looks completely AFL ready. He's just, I know he's a bit older, so he does have his maturity advantage, but he's just come in and completely cemented a spot in a pretty strong dog side.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The Dogs this year are formidable. Forget where they are on the ladder. Like, you look at them play. Obviously, they rode the wave of those injuries for a few of the earlier rounds, and they're coming out looking really good. So to be able to get consistent games in the Bulldogs team at the moment is saying something very, very positive.
Also in 14 games, Luke Traynor has taken on a pretty tough role at Richmond down back. It's not an easy place to be when the ball's sailing over your head 15 times a game. But to his credit, standing up well, he's gotten the most games out of Richmond's swath of draftees, some of which we will be talking about in a bit as well. But he's kind of put himself almost head and shoulders above the rest, and he wasn't one of their top picks either, being taken to pick 21.
Well, I mean, this is the thing we're just talking about, right? Getting that especially with Richmond. We all know where Richmond are at. They're not going to win that many games, maybe a few more for the rest of the year if they're lucky. But just that experience alone is going to set him off for an amazing next few years, you would hope. And that can be said about a lot of the Richmond team, to be honest with you, including someone we'll talk about in a bit. But no, it's good to see Trainer out there. Let's talk about this next guy, though.
Yeah, last one on the 14 games is pick number 7, or second last one, sorry, on the 14 games is pick number 17 out of the draft, Murphy Reid, who Fremantle took a risk, I think, taking a mid when there probably wasn't an immediate need at the time. I think I said as much in that episode, but I don't think we had Murphy Reid forward genius on our bingo card, because he was given the nod against Geelong in round 1, kicked 4 goals while the rest of the team took the day off to go and surf at lawn or whatever they were doing, because it wasn't football, and just hasn't really looked back since. He had a bit of a dip in form. He recovered that quite well, and all of a sudden, he's getting pretty close to undroppable, I would say, Liam. He's been very good.
I'd say he's already there, mate. I think he's proven himself straight away. Like, he took that chance and ran with it. And sure, like we were thinking to ourselves, okay, well, we brought him in round 1 just to see what he could do, see where he's at. And then, yeah, I look at him now and I look at the way he plays. He's got good footy smarts, that kid. He's got very good footy smarts, very high footy IQ. So, yeah, if he's not already undroppable, he's very close. He's very close.
And a really clever ball user too. That's the thing I like the most about Murphy Reid. Is he just understands what he needs to do with the football just about every time he has it. So exciting stuff there. Last player on 14 games, Isaac Kako, he's really been thrown to the wolves, because this is a bad Essendon side, and we can talk about this bad Essendon side in the games review. But this is a poor team and a particularly poor forward line, and yet I think Kako, despite having a couple of off games, has really been one of the bright sparks of a disappointing Bombers season.
Yeah, he's got that aura about him, doesn't he, Kako? Like, he's just out there, and he's got the hair, he's got the energy, which is nice. But you're right. Like, on a different team, he might get a bit more. Service isn't the right word, because he's the small forward, but like, he might have
opportunities might present.
Opportunity, yeah, exactly right. So now I think he's having to play all around the ground, not just his position.
And he's working hard too. Like,
he's working hard,
covering significant ground.
It's stretching him pretty thin, poor Kako.
He'll benefit from a pre-season, I think, just getting the extra AFL pre-season under his belt. And hopefully some better forwards around him. Because I don't know how much longer they can keep this up. 13 games, Riley Bice. Now, this is, I'm assuming, the one you're referring to, Liam, at the top.
Hey, this gives me hope that I can still make the AFL, Jesse.
Well, you're close enough, if you call 15 years close, which I don't.
No,
probably the more apt to be gives me hope to get into the AFL still. But look, we talk about poor sides, and Sydney are exactly that. But yeah, he's been good, Riley Bice. He's come in, he's looked composed, he's looked classy, and I think, like Davidson, you're caught off guard by the fact he's a first-year player a lot of the time, again, with the key caveat that he is older, being 24. But he's absolutely adapting to this level better than you could hope for, really.
Yeah, I think so. And I think out of necessity, he was brought into the Sydney side more than anything. And yeah, he's taken it on. And again, a side that's probably not where they would like to be this year. It's obviously very obvious to say. But no, he's done very well, Bice. Very, very well. I haven't watched enough of him, though, to really give any real credence. But he's still playing, which is probably all you need to know.
I don't blame you for switching to channel when Sydney's on. They're not a fun side to watch. We'll talk about Melbourne's dynamic duo now of Xavier Lindsay and Harvey Langford, both on 13 games each, both first-round picks for the Demons this year. I've got to say, there's promise for Melbourne. We talked about them cratering a lot at the start of the season. That talk's kind of gone away as they've stabilised the ship a bit. I still think they're a bottom 6 side reasonably comfortably, although it seems like each team in that bracket wants to trip each other up and take bottom 6. So I do think Melbourne are a poor side this year, and they are going to have a long think about what they look like in the future. And I think the Cozzy Pickett contract is a sign of intent around that. They want to build the team around Cozzy. So having games go into the likes of Lindsay and Langford early, I think is going to be really useful for them, because they've still got the guidance of your Olivers, your Petrarcas. I know there's the argument of, well, they're taking away midfield time from guys that need to develop. And while that's true in some ways, I also think AFL exposure is AFL exposure. And we've seen guys like Sheasel's a really good example where they started on halfback to then get there. Nick Dacos did the same thing as well. So I think really
Well,
positive here for Melbourne.
it's one of those things, right? Like you can't take away your stars from the midfield. That's where they do their craft. But you can learn from them.
Yes.
And sometimes and taking that knowledge and those lessons from those star midfielders can only benefit. So when one of them does go down, if they do, you can come in and then and apply that craft as best you can, or at least build that way. But yeah, you're not going to come in straight away and be the top midfielder or starting midfielder in any AFL team, because it's a pretty important spot, the old midfield.
Look, it does have an impact, Leo. I think that's fair to say that it is somewhat important.
Yes. Understatement of the year.
Last players who have played 13 games from the 2024 class so far is Finn O'Sullivan, your rising star for this week, as well, your rising star nomination for this week. And I thought he had a brilliant game against Carlton. He did add another fresh area to his locker. That's two in as many weeks for him, which I think he'd rather stop doing. But look, I think there's a really, really promising player here for North, and you certainly hope so with pick 2. But if you cast your mind back to the draft, it was pretty consensus that any of the top 3 picks could have been number 1, and Draper and Ashcroft were no slouches themselves. So you're looking at getting an elite talent you wouldn't want to miss in this crop with the strength of it. And I think they've done a really good job here with O'Sullivan and straight in the team, getting some consistent exposure and handling it really well. He looked like he really understood the game, I thought, on Saturday. He looked like he was really aware of what he needed to do. The right times to try and break a line and attack, the right times to look for the conservative kick. And it's an unteachable skill for an 18, 19-year-old player. And he's surrounded by a lot of players who have been in this position at 18, 19 years old in recent years and having to learn in a bad side while getting probably thumped a lot and adapt to it. And I think O'Sullivan, obviously this is a better North side than what we've seen in recent years. That's certainly fair to say, but he's having those challenges as well. And I think so far what we're seeing is really good signs for North Melbourne in the future.
Yeah, I think North Melbourne along with Richmond are the two to watch in the next couple of years, I would say. I know we said that last year about North, but sometimes these things take a bit more time than we expect. But if they can keep these players firing and going every week, especially Finn, it's going to be great. It's going to be good for them. Speaking of Richmond, Jesse, a couple of their top stars. Maybe not as many games. Or top stars, top draft picks, I should say.
Yeah, we just want to touch on the rest of the top 5 and see how they're tracking. So Sam Lawler's played 10 games, which is not a bad return. He's had some injury issues, both pre-season and also during the season, which hasn't helped, but he's looked really damaging when he's been on the park and looks like the right player for Richmond moving forward, I'd say.
He's got bonafide star written all over him, does Lawler? Bonafide star.
Jagger Smith yet to debut, and that's probably a big blow for Carlton because looking at some of the players they're trotting out each week at the moment, I don't think they'd be holding out Jagger Smith.
No.
They look tired. Carlton look like a tired side. And again, we'll talk about that more in the games review. But right now, they look like they need an injection of enthusiasm and exuberance, something different. And unfortunately, Jagger Smith won't get the opportunity to do that this season with his ACL in the first practice match of 2025. So devastating for him. Hopefully, he's back to full health for next season and can hit the ground running because everything we saw in his draft year was that of a really classy ball user and really classy player. So hopefully, for Carlton's sake and for his sake, we can see the best of him in season number 2.
Correct. I haven't seen him, so I'm not too sure. I'm going to trust you on that one, Jesse.
Rounding out the top 5 with pick 4, which is Sid Draper. 9 games from him. He's had a lot of substitute vest exposure this season. He started the sub on multiple occasions for the Crows, and they have been a very strong Adelaide outfit this season. They've looked very good, and they've also seemed to have really gotten their structure set up. So for Draper to be getting his snout in the trough as well, I think is a really promising sign for him. Adelaide have actually not had that great of a draft record with first-round picks going back 30 years. They've had some big hits like Dangerfield, but they've also had some big misses as well in that space. So far, so good from Draper. I think there's promise there for him.
It's the balance, right? You got the Levi Ashcroft who can come in and just do it straight away. Some players might just benefit more or just have that opportunity from the bench. But hey, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing because a lot of these other players that get drafted just sit there on the sidelines until one day maybe their name gets called. So coming off the bench as a super sub, I'm calling him a super sub, I'm assuming he is not a bad place to be. I wouldn't have thought for a first-year player.
Of those names we went through, Liam, do you have a clubhouse leader for best first-year player at this point?
Well, I mean, look, taking bias out of it, because I probably would say Harley Reid. Only because
he's a second-year player.
Murphy Reid. There's too many goddamn Reids in this goddamn competition. Get rid of all of them.
Or you could just learn the players' names.
That's too easy, Jesse. That's
No,
too easy. I'd much rather make it a challenge for myself every single week by saying the wrong. And here's the problem. In my head, the whole time, I'm like, Harley is not the right one. Say Murphy.
It's not like he's a very well-known and marketable figure in Western Australia either or anything.
Oh, man.
Just warms the pine for the West Coast Reserve side and the waffle.
I know. One day he'll get there. I nearly did it again. Murphy Reid, I think, has been very good for Freo. Obviously, Ashcroft is... I'd say Ashcroft Reid, 1-2 for me. What about you?
I'm going to give it to Davidson.
Oh, he's gone for Davidson.
Because, and look, he does get the advantage of being 3-4 years older than a lot of these players, but the impact he's had and just the AFL ready-made appearance he's given off in a pretty good Bulldog side, I think I've got to give the nod to him. Obviously, Ashcroft has been phenomenal. I don't doubt that he will be a very, very good player for years to come, and Murphy Reid has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant for Fremantle too. But yeah, I've got to give it to Davidson. I think he has really come in, especially when you weight it based on the fact he's picked 51. You know, that's still taking a chance. And he is more than repaying the faith, because I had those injuries at the start of the year, so players had to step up. And when you make yourself undroppable from pick 51, you're doing something right. So I'm going to give his flowers to Davidson.
In a good team too. In a good team. God, Murphy's 16 goals for the year. Can't even get it across the line. Goodness me.
And one of the only genuine children, rookies, to get coaches' votes too. Because Davidson's had coaches' votes. Murphy Reid has had coaches' votes. Bice has had coaches' votes. And Lawler's had 3 coaches' votes, with 1 going to Angus Clark all the way down the bottom for Essendon as well. So absolutely Murphy Reid is in that conversation. But I've got to give just enough of an edge to Davidson. I think he's done a really good job.
Yeah, I think you're right. The weighting of coming from 51, pick 51, and cementing that spot is hard to pass up. It's hard to pass up as the top, Jesse. Story comes perfect. All right, let's. Anything else we'd like to talk about with these lovely draftees, the recruits?
Only for people to send us a DM on Instagram or drop a comment down below who they think has been solid both across the competition and for their team. Are you a Carlton fan desperate to see Jagger Smith? Are you an Adelaide fan who forgot that Sid Draper's your draft pick? Let us know.
And if your favourite is Ashcroft, get brave. Choose Davidson like Jesse. Go on, think outside the box.
Is that maybe a football hipster?
No.
Is it? It's getting close.
You're getting there, Jesse, but that's okay. That's okay. It's not a bad thing to be a football hipster. Unless you think it's a bad thing.
Well, that really starts talking about like advanced stats, like expected score.
Is it wrong to call you a football nerd? Are you there?
No,
yet?
I can call football nerd. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're definitely that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's definitely true.
I've had worse than that.
That's probably fair as well. The way you talk at the footy, I'm like a man enough all the time.
Oh,
but now let us know your thoughts down. What do you mean?
Motion mouth, Liam.
No, I'm fine. Let us know down below what your thoughts are at @CMPerfect_AFL as well. Thank you, Jesse, for that.